Coming to you from Studio HQ, this is episode 3 of the Think Indie podcast. I am Dodgy in the mix, mixing it up with my fellow creators and hosts of the Think Indie podcast. I have Rabbit, Paul Gomez. Hello.
How's it going?
Very good. And my main man, Manny Manuel Carmona. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to get this thing rolling.
Yes, let's rock it. So if you guys haven't watched or listened to the Think Indie podcast, this is episode 3. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. But please check out our previous episodes because we've got a lot of content about creations, about creators' input, as well as future and current projects from creators that we would love to share. And most excitingly is Webtoon. So I'm going to pull up the banner here, and this is the 3rd episode. And all right, Manny, I need you to explain this. This is by Indie Comics Day 2022,
Right.
Saturday, October 1st. What is it for new creators or people that have never heard of By Indie Comics Day?
Well, By Indie Comics Day is basically a day that a group of creators, we put together this idea of just celebrating indie comics. One of us is in Chicago, the other one is in New York, I'm in Virginia, and we haven't even met each other in person. We just came up with this idea, and the whole thing is basically it's like a day, like for example, Free Comic Book Day, right? Free Comic Book Day is a day that people just go to the store and buy comics, and they're free, but the store owner has to buy them. Well, we came up with the idea of why not have a day specifically for indie comics, and then the comic book shops could just have an indie creator come to the store and do a signing, have a sale for indie comics, and it started as a crazy idea, and like in 2019 it was our biggest year before the whole pandemic went crazy.
Yeah.
And we have people in Ireland, people in Canada celebrating it, in Mexico, in Puerto Rico, it went all over the world basically. People ran with the idea. The pandemic basically put a stop to everything, and this year is the first year we're coming back, and hopefully we can get back on track to where we used to be.
Yeah. And from my experience, because I've witnessed Indie Comic Book Day myself, and it is great. I didn't know it had a name to it. I just remembered being invited to because I was hosting an Indie Comics podcast, and I attended my local comic book shop, and they had a table, like a horseshoe-shaped table that had like 6 or 7 creators there, showing off their books, doing signings and selling, and the actual comic book shop had a sale. So it's not just a walk-in, it's just like an every day. It's an extravaganza. It's like a Christmas special, or you know what I mean? Get butts in the door,
Yeah.
And I need to ask you, Paul, have you ever experienced this, or have you heard of Indie Comic Book Day yourself?
I've heard of it, but I haven't exactly experienced it. I guess with having so many comic book stores around me, I go to one specifically a lot that actually has a lot of indie creators that come in quite regularly. So that could be one of the reasons that I haven't experienced it. I mean, I've got so many around me that, they don't all just kind of mesh together. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to have this one comic book store that has tons of indie creators come in just about every other week.
Right.
Yeah. But Paulie, would you actually think that this would benefit your local stores, or if they could all join together and actually celebrate By Indie Comic Books Day?
I definitely think that it would increase their knowledge of other indie comics out there. I know one of the things that whenever I went around, they didn't really know that there were so many other independent artists that were around this area. So this is great. It's great to let everyone know, we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be great, because that's the thing, if oh geez, John around the corner is a comic book artist, wow, that would be amazing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's insane. So, Manny, what's the date?
The date is October 1st, 2022. It's on a Saturday this year.
Ooh, yeah,
We decided to do it in October. That
yeah.
way it didn't conflict with anything big, any big convention, any free comic book days. I think it's in May, so we didn't want to conflict with anything. We want to just have our day.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, like if you're a comic book creator, please do yourself a favor, hit up your local comic book store and just
No,
ask them if they're going to celebrate this day. Just
yeah,
ask because that's the thing.
Yeah.
They may not know about it as well.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because this is not associated with previews. This is just a group of guys that came up with the idea. So maybe it's up to us creators to just go to the comic book store that you
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I mean, just don't
absolutely.
be afraid because that's one of the things that most of the creators don't seem to do is go to those
Mhm.
comic book stores and just ask them. The worst they're going to do is say no. I went to
Yeah,
every comic book store just to try to sell my book, and even though some said no, I had about 25 that said yes.
then
well,
there
there
you
you
go.
go. Amazing,
There you
amazing.
go.
And many. Speaking of Bionic Comic Books Day, you've got some ratings for some books that we might have discussed on our show. Can you please
Yeah.
explain?
Yeah, well, we don't. It's not just me. It's I did this one because we actually covered it on the on the show.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there's like I said, it's not the buying the comics. It's not just me. It's a few other creators.
Yep.
I came up with this idea of just having like a
Mm.
grading, and having these other people that's in the group just grade whatever comic they read and just do
Yeah.
a little synopsis, a little review, and that
Mhm.
way more people can just find. All right, let me see what books they review real quick. Okay,
Yes.
this seems pretty cool. This is and just with the cover image, and it's just one more way to help indie creators just get their books out there.
Yeah. And I mean, would this be like something that you would pitch out to creators to say, hey, Bionic Comic Book Day, can you review my book?
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of creators that actually have sent me their books. so
Mhm.
so some of them they want us to cover it actually on the podcast, but some of them just want me to just do a grading like this, and I'm like, I will,
Mm.
yeah, little by little I keep pumping them out, And like
Yeah,
I said, it's
definitely.
not just me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And the title here is a Megatomic Battle Rabbit. We covered it in episode 2 of the Think Indie
yeah.
podcast. And then the next book is King Spawn. You also reviewed this one, gave it 5 stars across the board.
Oh God, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, the writer of this of King Spawn actually reshared it and wrote a quote
Oh
about it.
wow!
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, Sean Lewis. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Amazing writer, I gotta say. He's doing amazing
hell
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then we have your book.
yeah.
You
I didn't do that review, obviously.
Oh really?
Nah, I should have put all fives in there, but nah,
Get a
nah,
marker and just mark them
yeah,
in.
nah. That wouldn't have been fair.
Are you sure? No, but that's great. That's amazing because it's another way of getting indie comic creators all combined and
Right.
sharing this. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
great initiative, Manny.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and check it out, Facebook. Where else can we find Binding Comic Book Day?
Oh God, Twitter. You can actually find it on my. I have a page specifically on my web page, the Art of
Hmm.
Manuel Carmona. And I have a like a Buying the Comics Day whole section where I
Hmm.
you know have a bunch of stuff in there, different locations that are gonna be popping up as they keep confirming. And yeah, yeah, we're everywhere online. Just look for
Definitely.
buying
Yeah,
the Comics Day.
yeah, and just reach out to the team at Binding Comic Book Day if you do want to get
Yeah,
your book reviewed. Can't stress it enough. You really
yeah,
need publicity. Do yourself a favor. All
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Okay, we'll be moving on now to the Think Indie creative question. And the creative question I want to bring to the board here is what are some self publishing tips for new creatives? I'm going to start with you, Rabbit. Seeing you having major success with Kickstarter, considering, was it 3 books now?
3 books, yes.
Crazy.
So we just got
Yeah,
the last one
crazy.
funded, which was Cryptic Haze, and it's actually my highest funded comic book. So I'm
Congrats.
Definitely
Amazing.
appreciative of
Congratulations,
all
man.
that. Thank you.
Amazing. So, what are some of your self-publishing tips?
Well, and the one that I tell people the most is do your due diligence. Make
Mhm.
sure that you're going out there studying stuff, whether it's the way you're writing, your story flow, your page turn. Make sure you're
Mhm.
studying it all, and go on YouTube, listen to creative shows. There's tons of them out there that'll give you hints, tips, tricks,
Yeah.
and then
Amazing.
reach out to these people because they're also willing to talk to you as well. Whenever
Mhm.
I was doing my books, I reached out and talked to a few editors before I actually signed one on, and it helped me a great deal. Of course, my editor,
Mm.
I say, really taught me 90% of everything I know, but even talking to everybody else, one of the things, if you're going to be a new creative, just get out there, do your due diligence, talk to people, check out the YouTubes, and don't give up.
Definitely. And I
No
do
doubt.
like the fact you mentioned this off site. Is that your editor was brutal in many occasions, and you
Yeah, as a
needed that,
matter of
right?
fact, yeah. So whenever I went looking for editors, there's different types of editors. Some that are a little bit softer on writers, and some that are a little bit harder. And
Mhm.
whenever I was interviewing people, I would ask them, is this going to be an easy kind of thing? And some of them said yes, and I was like, I want somebody who's going to be critical because
Right.
I'm critical of the comic books that I read, and I
Right.
want
Mhm.
my work to be the best that I can do. Even if I had
Mhm.
to rewrite it 100 times, even if I had to look for 300 artists, and that's basically what I did was, man, I took my time in everything. So, like I say, do your due diligence. Don't think it's just going to be an easy thing. And, I always say hire an editor because if you're too close to the project, how are you going to correct yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. That definitely. And Manny, what are your tips?
Well, my main thing is comic books are a team effort, right?
Mhm.
And I know us as creators, sometimes we feel like we can do everything, and we have this idea and we want to push through it. I did it when I was first coming up, and some people might be able to do it. Those are the exceptions to the rule, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
should, if you're an artist, you should have a writer, at
Mhm.
least to help you out, right? To flesh out
Mhm.
your idea.
Yes.
Same with your, if you're an artist, you obviously need an artist. If you're a writer,
Mhm.
you need an artist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with that said, you need to establish relationships before you go and jump into the project. Unless you
Mhm.
have a budget, unless you have a budget to pay your writer or your artist, if you can't afford it, you need to start building relationships. I see a lot of like in Facebook groups and on Twitter. I see people out of the blue just, I need an artist. There's no pay, but there's exposure. I'm like, exposure? Unless you're talking about falling, you're not giving me exposure, right? I don't want to hear that. So instead of just cold turkey going to somebody and be like, "Can you draw my comic? I cannot pay you, but just start building a relationship." Like there's people that are willing to help. I'm the first one that I'll be willing to help anybody. If
Mhm.
I like the project, if I like you as a person, but if I don't know you out of the blue, I'm not gonna jump into a project, right?
Yeah. Of
So
course.
that's the main thing. It's just there's people that are willing to help, and but you have to, like Paul said, you have to do your due diligence. You can't just go up and running and just thinking you're gonna hire a whole team with
Yeah.
no money, right? With no
No. Of
budget.
course.
So that,
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing that I think, and a lot of writers, they get frustrated because they feel that artists don't want to help them. I have this story that is a great story, but nobody wants to help me. Well, you
Mhm.
have to do your, just contact people little by little, get to know them.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an artist you don't want to work with. As a person, you just don't like them, and you're thinking that they're gonna help you. They leave you hanging mid
Mhm.
story, right? That's why you
Yeah.
need to know who you're dealing with.
And also think about
Exactly.
the time that everybody's putting into it. A writer doesn't spend like weeks on the script as much. I know I did, but I know some writers that can hammer out a story in a day or two. whenever you're talking about an interior artist is usually weeks on end. So I
Oh
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
have to understand how much of a workload everybody's putting into it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and some of these artists have jobs, full-time jobs, and they're just doing it on their off time. And you can't say, "Oh, can you draw me 5 pages a day?" It's just not possible.
No, no, it's very hard. Very hard, very
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, definitely. And also too, like you're giving them fresh ideas, and they have to actually picture the idea in their head and then put it on paper. And you
And
just have
does
to
it
be
match their
patient.
art? I mean, that's one of the things that I realized whenever I was looking for artists. Does my story match their art? Are they going to be able to dive into it because their art tells that story?
Mhm.
Some artists deal with certain types of art, and if that story doesn't fit that art, they don't feel that connection. And you
It,
have to build that relationship. I
it can
mean,
be
Exactly.
the best
yeah,
artist in the world, but if the story don't match your artwork, it's not gonna work.
yeah, because they're not going to feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, build that relationship. I think is the overall answer, and also
Yeah.
just networking.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
That's
right,
it.
moving along now. So we're going to be talking Webtoon and Rabbit. What did you give us? This is such a treat. I have to say, I don't think I was ever like jaw dropping that I've ever done before in a Webtoon comic. Like seriously, this I would 100% watch if this were an anime.
Right.
Um, so introduce the title to us.
So this is called Death Rescheduled. So whenever I was looking for something, I my latest book was on Kickstarter and it's kind of a thriller and I wanted something to that effect as well. Whenever I was
Mhm.
looking through webtoons, I was like, I wanted to be on suspense whenever I went from story to story. So I read a few of them and this is the one that really caught my eye.
Yeah, it's written by Snailords. So, but my goodness, the art in this was incredible. Manny, what did you think of the art in this title?
Yeah, the artwork was the highlight, in my opinion. Like it was incredible. Like you say, very manga influenced, very anime.
Hmm.
Um, but anime usually has like a cell type of. It's called cell coloring, which is like very. S- how do you say that? Like it's not shaded, right? It's very
Yeah, it's just
just
one dimension.
shapes, right? With this one, it's completely different. This one is very shaded. Very everything is well,
Hmm.
well colored. The illustrations are very clean. So for me, it's a treat to the eyes. When you see like inside the aquarium, you see all the sharks and all this stuff, and you're like, oh my god, this is beautiful.
Yeah, and all the
The this
sparkling.
Yeah, it's incredible. The subject matter, it was crazy to me.
Yeah,
It's almost like the purge or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like a control purge, basically, is what it is. It's a
hmm
control. You only have one person to kill or whatever, something like that.
yeah.
Um,
Within 20, was it within a year? Once a
Within a
year.
year, yeah.
right, yeah, and it was very like we said off before we started the recording. It's something I wouldn't normally pick up or read, but once I read it, I'm glad I did. you know,
Yeah,
it,
same.
it, it's just different. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, and the title itself didn't really give us an indication of what we were expecting. But when we read it, then the title made absolute sense. Is that
Yeah.
that you like your year has gone up and now you're able to kill somebody, and the contents of the characters and the audience members like watching and enjoying themselves, and also the manager of the aquarium is like, here's some complimentary weapons to use to kill yourselves. Like,
So
what the
surreal.
hell?
Like it was normal. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the storytelling to me was amazing because it was talking about not only that they got this one chance a year to kill somebody, but he had to wait for this other person because they chose to kill this one. And then the way they manipulated that, and there
Yeah.
was a whole fight between the two main characters, but that
Hmm.
they were going after this child as well.
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, when I first started reading it, because of the title "Death Rescheduled," the story starts with the main character inside. the tank with the sharks.
Yeah.
I was thinking it has something to do with like suicide. Like he wanted
Yeah.
to
Mm,
die and then cancel his death. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, what's
mhm.
going on? But I
Just
wanted to say
unlucky.
like, yeah, right. But I wanted to say like the way that you see people reacting to the actual killing or
Yeah.
the potential killing, how it's so surreal. And it's like they're all for it. We we
Yeah,
we see it as surreal because it's in our society that's not acceptable.
of course.
But when you go to like a UFC fight,
Yeah.
they're basically killing each other, and people are
Pretty
all
much.
for it, right?
Hmm.
And bare knuckle fighting and all this stuff is basically the same, right? There, if you don't know if somebody's gonna get killed, you're hoping they don't,
Yeah,
but you want them to knock the other guy out.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, even if you look at like dog fighting or cockfighting, like it's the same thing, but we don't
right,
care really because these are not humans, like which is absolute shit in my opinion. But it's
yeah,
like two dogs can fight to the death, and we're applauding and
yeah.
celebrating, and oh man, it's disgusting. But
And
anyways,
in the times of the gladiators, this is
oh
literally
yeah,
what happened. It's
yeah,
exactly how it
true.
happened. So it's not so surreal. It's just a different time, you know.
Hmm. Yes. And I mean,
Oh man,
if
look at
you're
that.
looking at this image, yeah, the art is just mind blowing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially from the inside the fish tank, like that's in or the aquarium, sorry. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really amazing. But even the cliffhanger at the end of episode 5, insane. You know
yeah.
that I don't want to spoil it, but there is a spoiler at the or like there is a cliffhanger at the end of episode 5 that declares why the main character, although he has the option to kill the boy, he doesn't, and the reasons why is just incredible. Like it was actually like I was surprised and like, damn, this is actually amazing.
And like I said, the story, the way they did it, talking about how they were, scheduling the death and then having to reschedule because they chose to go against each other. And then they
Mhm.
talked about, him not exactly wanting to kill and,
Yeah.
the powers that they put into it. Also, it was all unique and different. And it was like,
Mhm.
I didn't expect, her powers. And then the way they introduced his powers later on after he
Yeah.
had
Right.
fallen down, to me, I enjoyed every aspect. That from one episode to the other, I felt like I
Yeah.
wanted to keep reading on.
Oh
The
no,
art
100%.
art was just so beautiful, and
Mhm.
the story was so unique to me.
Yeah.
It
My
is.
favorite moment was him tormenting his opponent, putting him in the tank, pulling him out, putting him in the
Yeah.
tank, in and out. Oh my god, I was
It was
pissing myself
crazy.
laughing when I was reading that. Like,
And
yeah.
what about the actual aesthetic of the main character? He's like androgynous to a degree, right? You don't know if he's straight, gay. You don't know if he's a
Yeah,
woman,
true.
transgender. It's very hard to for the longest time. I was like, is he like straight or gay, or if is he a woman? I just didn't know. You couldn't quite figure it out. But
I
obviously,
still have
I think he's a
BTS sometimes.
well, maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe they did it just so anybody can relate to him, like a Spider-Man type of thing. Like right, Spider-Man. That's the main thing about Spider-Man is like anybody can have the mask.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's almost like you can't quite tell the characters kick ass either way.
Yeah, no, he's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
And like this story is only came out on the 11th of December last year, so it's only what we're in 4 months.
4 months. Wow.
4 months and 1.1 million subscribers, 14 episodes. Incredible. So
Wow.
so like
Amazing.
how we see some episodes now they're going into the 200 mark.
Yeah.
This is only 14, so you can actually probably read this in like 2 days or even
Yeah,
a
for
day if
sure.
you really want to binge read.
Yeah, no doubt.
But definitely one I recommend. I'm not one for this sort of content, but God, it was fun.
It was.
And if this were an
Really
anime,
was.
I would absolutely watch this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like definitely.
And
And this girl, the
this
pink
other
hair,
psycho,
yeah, she she's
she was worse than the
hilarious.
people.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She's hilarious.
And then the way they built the characters, it was so seamless and flawless, and like
Hmm.
it would hide some aspects of it until you got to a certain point, and then bring in this other character, which she was great to bring in
Yeah,
whenever they did. It just
yeah,
it all worked together.
Yeah,
yeah.
very well
She's
done.
almost yeah, like she's almost like the from Water, but you can do it. Like
Yeah.
he's only in it for like 3 seconds, but you remember that line, you can
Yeah,
do it, and he's like in like five Adam Sandler movies. Like it's
Ro-
great. I love it.
Rob Snyder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
But definitely check it out. Death Rescheduled from Webtoon. Um, now we're going to a book review. Apologies in advance. No, but this was a very interesting read, and I think across the board we have mixed emotions. And this book is called Lalo's World by Eduardo Juarez Jr. Um,
Right.
all right, Manny, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of Lalo's World?
This was out there. It was funny. It's really funny.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the way I describe it. It's like the Chicano Simpsons, basically. Is this little character who's trying to survive high school, and just his friends are crazy and he's crazier than him. It's just wild. He's
Um,
wild.
but you know what? I think with the front page and it says, "Oh shit, this is not Lalo." I have a feeling this could be the actual creator. This could be Eduardo.
It could be.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It could be based on his real life. But I'm gonna ask you guys: was your high school like this?
No.
No.
Uh, eh,
No.
well, I no, we couldn't talk like the way they talk to their teachers.
No.
Oh
Hell
no.
no. They would have beaten our ass, and then my parents would have beaten my ass when I got home. So that was out of the question. Between us, joking around between us, and talking about girls and stuff, yeah. But
There, yeah,
go
there there
ahead, go
were
ahead, Paul.
there were some parts that seemed that you could relate to, but there were some parts that were so astronomical that it just I don't know if it fit. The-
Yeah,
it felt like
Yeah.
it started on a train track and then went to left field and then jumped back on the train track again.
and it went up the rails. Yeah, yeah. It's like those those underground comics started coming out like in the late 70s, early 80s,
Yeah.
black and white people, just handing them out
Super
and stuff like
cat
that, ash
type
cans and stuff.
story.
This has a very that vibe, like something you would find like in the back of a comic book shop in in this old box that nobody wants to check. You're like, what the hell is
Exactly.
this?
Like adults only section.
Right, and
Um,
adults only, exactly.
Yeah, but I did think from the beginning. I thought like, oh, this is gonna start. You like you said, Rabbit. It's like it starts well. Like it starts like, okay, this is kind of interesting, and then it does really go off track. Yeah, and there are some elements, especially the way they talk to their teacher and the teachers taking them into sex education. Like, oh my goodness, I remember being in sex education at school, and we're all like absolutely awkward as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I took that class, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think in Puerto Rico they gave that class. I swear, if as far as I can remember, the boys never took that class. Only the girls took that class,
Oh, I see.
right? And they yeah, because I remember vividly they're bringing all the girls into this room, and all the boys and me and my boys were looking out through the window trying to get out of here. And we were like in middle school, and we're like, what are they talking about? Yeah, so it's so different than in the states. In the states, I guess they teach everybody, which is how how it should be. In Puerto Rico, it was a different world.
And I think
Yeah,
I
but-
remember from those classes, it was kind of awkwardly quiet. You did have like that one person, but it really was awkwardly quiet because you had these adults that you didn't exactly look at that manner. Of course, on this, you have these two females that are kind of joking about it themselves, which our teachers would have never.
Yeah.
Hell no.
I think for
There's
me,
one.
they actually were like they had like animation with animals going like, and then the duck looks at the female duck and goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, your bill's a little bit bigger than it was last time I saw you."
And then Howard the Duck comes in.
How you doing?
Come here. I do want to say that I actually enjoy more the little backstories that they were in the book, except the last story. The last story was insane.
Yeah,
But like the one with the 5 stages of drunkenness, which is the dad, it was hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that really
it
was.
And then the one with Daniel, it's called Daniel's backstory, which is that Daniel is a parrot, and he's talking to this other little parrot and this other pigeon or something like that. Oh my god, I was laughing out loud with that story. But you know, it's crazy.
What do you think of the art in this image? So this is an image. If you're listening, it's basically like almost like it looks like a splash page, but
Right.
it's like of all characters among the school. I guess the school foyer or the schoolyard.
Schoolyard, yeah.
Yeah. But what did you think of the art in this, Manny? As being the artist of the group.
It looks honestly, it looks like that's somewhere that he's actually seen. He puts a lot of detail into that image. So I'm guessing that used to be his school, the creator. Because you can see like the little ramp in the bag. It's just too many details that you just randomly you probably not gonna put it as an artist. You just if it was me, I would just draw something, simple, random, because that's not the focus. The background is not the focus. But yeah, I kind of think that that's probably his middle school, high school, whatever it was, and he just he just put it there to make it real, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, this book is very much out there.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, but I do like the emphasis on the characters. They all look different, and that's what I
Yeah.
felt.
And I've actually seen images, recent images from this series, and it looks like full color. He actually had I don't know if it's a print or if it's the cover of a trade paper rag or something, and he took the Stranger Things, the Netflix series,
Yes.
and he took that main image for the series, and he used all his characters.
Oh,
And full color. Oh man, it looks great. And I was like, damn. So obviously he's been working on it little by little, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he's evolved. But I can tell this story was probably a few years old, and that was just his first steps.
Yeah,
No, 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 no.
this was his first work. Yeah, this was
Right.
his first work, and this is the first issue. So chances
Yeah.
are he might have started just fresh out of high school, potentially.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but definitely, yeah, you're right. Because I've seen his more recent artwork, and I know he draws with a bit of a Simpsons influence. You can see a bit of it here.
Yeah,
with some of the
for sure.
characters. Yeah. But here's the story that you mentioned.
God.
The 5 Simpsons and drunkenness. But
Oh my
you know
God.
what? I love the art on the dad because I've seen dads that look like this
No doubt.
in my
No
lifetime,
doubt.
where mainly my friends' dads from school.
Yeah, you know what's more hilarious is that the actual 5 steps is actually I've seen that in people.
Yeah.
I've seen all those steps. I've seen it. That's what made me laugh so hard. It's like, yeah, this is totally real. Which actually scares me because if you follow this trend, like if you see this and you're like, yeah, this is real, and then you see his first story, you're like, Jesus, was that real as well?
Well, then it very well could be.
Yeah, who knows?
All right, moving along. So we're going to be jumping into Indiegogo project, and I know Manny, you know Ray. I know Ray as well.
Right.
through Facebook. But what made you choose Violet Bird by Raymond Leonard?
Well, I actually I love the design of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, I've known him for a few years through Facebook.
Yeah.
And I actually I love his other character, Agent Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the current campaign he has going on, and I love the what he did. He basically did a it's an Indiegogo campaign, but it's basically a pre-order. You're
Mm-hmm.
basically pre-ordering the book, not just he's not giving you all this extra like T-shirts and all this stuff. You're basically paying for your copy, which
Mm-hmm.
is you don't see it normally, but I love the idea, and I'm like, yeah, that's all I want. I mean, some people like the extra, all the extra content, but I just wanted the comic, and that's I love what he did.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at the moment, looking at on Indiegogo, it's at 1586 Australian dollars. I'm not sure what that's converted to in US dollars.
1400.
Um, yeah, but it's at 231% of his target of 686.
Yeah,
That's his flexible goal. So yeah,
yeah
686, 231% achieved, with 33 days left.
he actually
Um,
funded it. He actually funded it in 2 days.
yeah, wow,
He actually, yeah,
crazy.
well, and he didn't ask for too much. That's what I'm saying. Like he just did a pre-order, and he
Yeah.
funded it like super quick.
Yeah, I mean, from my opinion, his art is very much influenced by Rob Liefeld.
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
that's his guy.
Yeah, that's true,
Yeah,
and I know Liefeld endorses him as well on a lot of projects.
yeah. And
Even
he,
did even
he,
did the
he,
sketch cover for Agent Solo. Sorry, bro. Continue.
he no, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that he actually did a cover for him. For
Yeah.
this one, Ron France did a cover for him
Yes. Yes,
for
he
Violet
did.
Verse. So I mean, Ron France is like, I love Ron France because of Thor. He used to draw
Yeah,
Thor,
here
and
it is.
that's right. There you go. When he
Yeah.
said that, I was like, holy crap, dude! Like that's one
Yeah.
of the legends.
I know,
So
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy, and that's part of what you said earlier, Rabbit. Is that networking is important, even if you do go to some legends that might be out of the game, because you don't really see Ron Friends so much nowadays. Although he's actually not old, and that's the surprising thing. He's actually, I think he's in his 60s, early 60s.
yeah.
I mean, when we're seeing like if you look at John Romita Jr., he's in his 60s, and
That's
he's
true.
like a machine still.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, Rabbit, like that's the thing, right? You mentioned before about networking, and wouldn't this be like a massive pleasure to have a legend
Yeah,
drawing
as a
for
matter
you?
of fact, I mean, whenever I started, I reached out to a whole bunch of artists, and it was kind of surprising how many actually reached back to me. I
Yeah,
talked to a lot of indie creators that said that they couldn't find any big artists, but I was like, you've got to kind of hunt them down if you really
yeah,
want them. I had one or two that I was actually almost to that edge of getting in there, but I decided to do a little bit more locally kind of thing.
yeah,
I mean, it's great whenever you can reach out and find somebody, especially if they're your hero and whatnot,
of
or
course.
have done one of those great covers that you love so much, and then they reach out to you and you almost have them on a cover or actually get them. Like, I mean, that's just amazing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you're probably not gonna get Todd McFarlane or something like that, but
Right.
there's a lot of amazing artists that have worked with Marvel, DC, Image, and stuff, and there's a lot of them. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure
And
one of them will do it for you. You know.
yeah.
I'm gonna say I hate to drop names that I talked to or whatnot, but I
Right.
actually did reach out to Tyler Kirkham, and he reached
Wow.
back
Right.
out to me, and we were talking for a week about him possibly doing a cover on Bushibu whenever I first started. If I hadn't had any delays and stuff, I might have actually had him.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy. You know it's crazy. This is completely separate from this, but it's kind of the same thing. I One of my idols was Norman Brayfold. Um,
Yes.
and I actually reached out to him to have a couple comics signed, and he told me send them to me. I sent it to him, and I reached out and I asked him, how much would you charge me for a drawing? And he said, well, right now I'm too busy. I'm working with DC, and then I don't have time. I said, it's so cool. I couldn't afford it anyway. I'm pretty sure I couldn't afford it. I'm just asking. So turns out when he sent me the comics that he signed for me, he had sent me a Batman drawing in a backing board. And I actually called him back and I said, listen, man, you sent me a drawing by accident. I'm gonna send it back to you. He said, no, no, that's not an accident. Just keep it for your boys and for free.
That's
And
awesome.
I have that frame. That's my prize, one of my prized possessions. And we remain friends until the time he passed. And I talked with him through depression, through a lot of things that happened to him. He had probably health issues and stuff. And that was one of the best things that I found about the internet, is that it reaching out to people like that. It's actually your idol, and
Yeah.
I would have never met him in person, but we had a relationship online, and I treasure that to the day I die.
Mhm. Yeah, he's actually known for that because I know a lot of Australian creators that actually, when he passed away, they actually put posts on Facebook. Like I've messaged Norm Brayfogle many times for advice and tips, and he always replied, always
Always.
replied.
Yeah.
And if you're like a guy in Down Under, and you think, oh, I might just send him a message on Facebook and see, he 99% chance of no response, right? He's too
Right.
important. He's a
Right.
big time creator. But when you get that response, like it's like gold just landed on your lap, right?
Absolutely.
Even just
Yeah,
hearing from these people, I mean, it's been great.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Like, isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? Like, that's the thing. When you get creators like that can, like, getting a cover art is like,
Oh my God.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No doubt. No
That's a
doubt.
surprise. That's that. But yeah, but even just a simple hello, like,
Yeah.
is amazing, right?
So congrats to Raymond there, that he's gotten
Yeah,
life bill, he's gotten wrong friends, man.
And
You're
he's
doing
got a
beautiful.
something right.
beautiful book as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
It's
and
fun,
it's got
fun
that.
comics.
It takes you back to the '90s, and that's what we
Yeah.
need sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
the costumes are out there, but the comic books, guys, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I love
Yeah,
her.
let's
I love
enjoy
Violet
it.
Bird.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, definitely still available. As I said before, 33 days left. Get yourself a copy.
No doubt.
And yeah, so there's a little bio here about who Violet Bird is, which is amazing if you want to go check it out on Indiegogo. Even this response here, so an Australian fan writes to Ray, because I don't think at that time he had PDF copies. We don't always want to pay for shipping, and sometimes
Right.
PDF is good enough, right? So yeah, he
Yeah.
basically replied back and said, you know what, PDFs are available, so amazing. So if you want to get yourself a copy anywhere in the world, reach out, go to Indiegogo, look up Violet Bird, and get yourself a copy. All right, so now we've got a thinking time now
Hmm.
in the Think Indie podcast. What's up with Cerebus? So Cerebus was originally the longest running independent comic of all time, ran from 1977 until 2004. Long time, right?
Damn.
Long
That's a long
time.
time.
Yeah. And it's same creator. It was basically Dave Sims doing the writing and the art. He had at times occasional help with maybe the plot or art touch-ups and things like that. But all in all, he was very much hands-on. And that's where he has a record for 300 books as being the creator, either doing the art and the writing simultaneously. But he's now like been more known for his Kickstarter work, and his most recent book is Firm Void. Have you guys ever read a Cerebus book? Start with you, Rabbit.
I have. I've read one or two, and to me, they've always been great. I mean,
Hmm.
it was always a jump into this character that was unique and a fresh atmosphere from just about most of everything else that's out there, because it was that
Hmm.
different kind of world that they put him in.
Yeah, and the world is very wouldn't really say it's been consistent, I mean, they could have just given this to any like human character, but to give it to an aardvark, I think is very unique because they put Dave Sims puts him in all sorts of circumstances.
Yeah.
But Manny, have you read a Cerebus book before? Are you familiar with the character?
I'm familiar with the character, but I think I might have read one or two. I'm sure I read the one where he appeared in Spawn back
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
like number 5 or something like that. Issue
It
number
was number
6,
10.
number 10. Right.
Yeah.
And but that's about it. I know he's like a Conan type of character, but he's cartoon. Is
Yeah, well, he was the Conan character, I think, for about 15 to 20 issues. And then he went to more of a philosopher or an explorer. And, he's just even a politician, a prime minister. He was all over the joint.
Became a chameleon of sorts. I mean, he really
Yeah.
did take on different characteristics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's like the Cerebus philosophy, whereas you can have a character that starts off in a particular way, but he's not staying in that particular role. It's because he did start as a Conan parody,
Right.
but it just never stuck because Sims's mind can go all over the place, and and this book here is called The Firm Void. It's basically a remastered edition that's come in a hardcover, and
Oh,
I've
wow.
picked up his Cerebus #1 remastered, and I got to tell you, this Kickstarter it's dangerous. Believe me, dangerous to the wallet. I tell you, it. But upon receiving it, though, it's worth every dollar. But I think my wallet doesn't agree with me.
I hear you.
Yeah, it's oh boy, and especially shipping costs and coming from Canada to Australia, it isn't the cheapest, but definitely worth picking up if you can afford it. I gotta say, if you can afford it, because it's like all the add-ons are amazing, they're glamorous, and I mean the one before this launched, there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #8 remastered, which was Cerebus teaming up with TMNT.
Oh,
Which
wow.
was written by Sims, written by Dave Sim, but illustrated by Kevin Eastman, inked by Sim. So definitely very hands-on. And I got to tell you, this sort of stuff is very, very precious. I got to tell you.
So let me ask you something real quick.
Sure.
What does it mean by remaster? Is he redoing the artwork?
No, it's more because in the original paper, it was very much the news. It's kind of like the white pages. The old telephone books.
Right.
They came
Yeah,
in that sort of
newsprint.
paper. Yeah, and they were very grainy, and like if you see them, even if when they were originally printed, they kind of had that grainy look. Like there's a bit of gray there.
Yeah,
as
cheap
opposed to
printing.
white. Yeah. Yeah, and he actually did a remaster of Spawn #10 as well, which I'm spewing I missed out on. Absolutely spewing. Like that I would definitely buy.
No
I
doubt.
missed it. Yeah, no, it's actually amazing. Like because Sim actually did the art, the interiors with McFarlane. So amazing. Like Dave Sim's artwork, I tell you, is underrated. Very much underrated.
And
Yeah.
he evolved so much from when he first started to where he is now. It's
Oh yeah.
like
Without a doubt.
leaps and bounds.
Yeah, leaps and bounds. And the way he draws people as well kind of has that Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith drawing bone, it looks very cartoonish. But when he draws humans and anatomy and he draws backgrounds and houses, like
Yeah, I just bought I bought it a few months ago. I bought I said I don't know if you can call it an omnibus, but it's the whole saga, the whole Bone saga. It's like a Bible.
yeah, no,
It's
it's massive. I
it's
know.
it's crazy. And I was like,
Jealous.
I look at my wife and I said, I really want this. And she's like, I should go ahead. And I was like, oh yes, you're coming with me.
My baby.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and that's where I gave it the nickname. He's gone like the George Lucas route of all his work because he's reprinting, Cerebus #1. He's reprinted Cerebus #2. Before that, he did some of the phone books, which they were nicknamed because they were like this fat, like they're really, really fat.
Okay.
Yeah, he's reprinted those, like High Society, which is a masterpiece. I've read the first. I think it was the first story of High Society, and I was like, wow, this is actually really interesting. He's a slob, he's smart, he's conniving, he's everything in between.
You're selling me on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's intriguing. It's very intriguing, and like what I said about the art, it's just it's out there. Like what I mean by that is that if you open a page, you think, wow, is that the same artist actually drew Cerebus? Do you know what I mean? Like the backgrounds and the way he draws people, like could work in Marvel or DC like that. Like,
oh yeah.
But he didn't want to, and that was his choice and the way he stuck throughout his entire life. All right, moving along. We're going to be talking now. Well, we did a little bit of Kickstarter with Cerebus, but now we've got the actual Kickstarter book, and this is called Space Team, the comic book. This has been an animation. This has been a video game. I mean, it's crazy what I've learned in the last 24 hours about this book. Even if you watch the actual video on Kickstarter, you'd be like, okay, this is quite interesting. Like this is almost like Guardians of the Galaxy, what we know from the movie before Guardians of the Galaxy, if you get my drift. It's a UK book, and it's basically got the premise of the guy who's the leader. He's like very laid back. It looks like he couldn't give a toss. And his team of his aliens and robots are pretty much carrying him, just like you see with Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So it's written by Barry J. Hutchinson. He's known to be a sci-fi writer. And this is basically the introduction of the story as a comic book. And it's got art by, let me just see, I cannot remember off the top of my head, Franco Cesapides. I'm sorry if I'm like butchering your name, Franco. So Franco's on the art.
Franco Cespedes.
Yes. Thanks, Manny. Thanks for the translation. and let me say this one. Justin Birch is on letters. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Justin. But definitely, it definitely looks interesting. You've got the characters here. Yeah, right. The art looks good.
Looks good.
Apparently, the character that in the image here kind of looks like a kangaroo, but it's actually a wolf. She's nicknamed the Sexy Chewbacca.
That's cool.
The Sexy Chewbacca. We've got the serious robot, and then we've got the female, co-pilot. And to get yourself a copy, it is £5, which on Australian dollars is $9. I'm not sure what that would be in US, maybe $6 or
6 something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you want to get the actual hard copy or the physical copy, is £10.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many pages does it have?
Let me check. Don't actually know the number of pages here.
That looks really interesting. I might go ahead and pull the trigger on that.
Nice.
Don't say.
But yeah, like, are you a fan of science fiction books, Rabbit?
I am. I do. I love just about everything in comics. So I mean, I read science fiction with horror and obviously superheroes. I love them to death. So
yeah,
I do like science fiction.
Nice. Let me get to the answer to that for you, Manny.
He looks like he does not want to nothing to do with them in that panel. Like, bye,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah,
That's
he
funny.
looks like the guy, who kind of gives off that he's not interested. He doesn't want to be there, but maybe he wants to take advantage of the benefits of being in
Yeah,
space. You know what I mean? Like,
get the benefits without putting the work.
exactly, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it actually shows the number of pages here. But it does look like fun. And I mean, like, the guy's written over 200 books. Like, if
Whew,
I'm seeing that
wow.
correctly, like, crud.
holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah, and it's been a video game, and just watch the intro video on Kickstarter. It's actually I was quite impressed.
Yeah, that looks
You
really
get
good.
it. Yeah, definitely. And there's also a guy like kind of like selling it as well. It looks like a car salesman like pitching the book as well. So funny. It really is. It really is. It's like a car salesman trying to get you to buy this book.
And if you get it now, we'll
Yeah,
give you a new car.
yeah, we'll throw in a sexy Chewbacca,
Yeah.
like a serious robot, and you know what I mean? Like, it really is. It's
That's
actually
funny.
really well put together. And that's the thing, right? So its goal is in Australian dollars is $3,567. It's currently achieved 16,835. So it doesn't give you the percentage, but judging by my calculations, that's nearly 400%. Crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, with 41 days to go.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if he's written 200 books, I mean, he has a following. That's for sure.
he
Yeah.
does. Yeah, that's the thing. And he's not a creator that puts his face out there. He's very much behind it, behind the project, but he's not putting his face out there, probably for the fact that he may be known to a lot of writers,
Yeah.
or a lot of readers, for science fiction. Can't say I'm a big science fiction reader, but I do love cosmic comics, like talking about like Jim Starlin, the Jack Kirby cosmic work for DC and Marvel. Amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
One of my
Um,
favorite newer comics is Space Bastards, and I
yeah.
always loved that
Oh, right,
science
right,
fiction. That's a great one, I thought.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
the El Capitan? Is that the
Yeah.
character?
Yeah.
El Capitan, yeah, he's a kick ass. Can't remember what publisher is that, because that's something we need to cover in Thundercats.
I don't. The publisher escapes me. I think he's an
Yeah.
independent,
Yeah,
like
I think so
really
too.
independent, but
Mm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, I mean, look, guys, if you really love your space stuff, Barry J. Hutchinson is the writer. Space Team. I mean, realistically, the title itself doesn't really give much away.
Not to be confused with Space Force.
Exactly, right? Like, yeah, Space Team, Space Force. Like, I just love the name is so simple, and I don't know, I love it, and I think the characters are very unique. Apparently, there's meant to be a B. Arthur character in there as well somewhere. Like, I saw it in the video trailer. So if you haven't watched the video trailer, please go check it out, because you're gonna love it. Like, you're gonna be like, "What is this?" But as I said, the writer's known, and there's a lot of people picking it up. So do yourself a favor and pick it up if you're interested. Even if you want to just get the PDF copy, just have a read. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up, Rabbit?
Just make sure you're doing what you're doing, enjoying what you're reading, and having a good life.
Absolutely. And yourself, Manny?
I finally got my copies of Project New Wave #3, which is my latest issue.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm still waiting for it to be uploaded to Indie Planet. But man, they look so awesome.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
looks.
and you got your physicals.
Yeah, I got my physicals. Yeah,
Ooh, nice.
yeah. I'm
Congrats,
excited about that.
congrats, brother.
Thank
All
you,
right,
man.
guys. Thank you so much for watching or listening the latest episode of Think Indie Podcast. Check us out at comiccrusaders.com. Follow us at Think Indie Pod in Twitter. Also, you can find us on Facebook as well. Just look up Think Indie Podcast. You will find us right there. On behalf of myself, Dodgy, with Paul Rabbit Gomez and Manny Manuel Camona. See you all next time.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.